Hello again guys, Reset Jet here. We've got another short video for our 757 series today. Now, this was actually requested by a viewer, so thank you very much to that individual for the suggestion. And if anyone else has any other suggestions or questions about any of these procedures, please leave a comment or reach out to me. Now, this video is going to be on single engine taxi procedures, particularly on how we set up the pneumatic panel to taxi on a single engine. Now, we really don't need to move the aircraft in order to do any of this, so we'll just keep her parked here on the ramp and we'll go through the motions. First off, we'll start an engine and go through the after start flow to taxi out on a single engine. We'll then do a crossbleed start, and finally we'll pretend we've landed. We'll do the after landing flow to taxi in on a single engine. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead, hop on board and get started. Alright guys, let's take a look at the pneumatic panel here. Now, I understand if you've never used this before, it can probably seem a little intimidating, but I promise once we've understood the basics and just one rule of thumb, it's fairly easy to operate. First off, we've got our sources of bleed air down here at the bottom. We've got the left engine, the right engine, and the APU. The isolation valve connects the left side of the system to the right. Then we've got our PAX switches right here. Now, the APU is typically used to start the engines or to power the packs when the engines are shut down. But we can also use an engine to operate one pack, both packs, or to start the other engine. And each engine can control its respective packs. The one rule of thumb we've got to remember is we never want either left or right bleed airs to touch. So if both bleed valves are open and we need to turn the isolation valve on, we've got to ensure that one bleed valve is off first before turning the isolation valve on, and vice versa. If we need to turn the other bleed air on, we've got to ensure that the isolation valve is off first before turning the bleed air on. And that's it. Here's your type rating and you guys are good to go. You can operate this panel like a pro now. Alright, that being said, we'll go ahead and turn this back on the way it's supposed to be, and we'll go ahead and start the engine and set it up for a single engine taxi. Alright, once we've got a stable engine and good start, I'll go ahead and reset the clock here for our 3-minute warm-up, and we'll run through the after start flow and after start checklist. Now, that flow looks something like this. APU, as required. Anti-ice, as required. Center fuel pump, as required. So if we had fuel in the center tanks, we'll turn the left center pump on at this time. Since we don't, we'll turn that off. And then air conditioning panel is set. So typically when we're going to do a single engine start, we like to leave the APU on just because it makes the process of starting the second engine a lot easier. And all we have to do is just turn our packs back to auto, check the recall, make sure our brakes are at RTO, and then set our flaps for takeoff. So in this case, flaps 5. And that would be it. But let's say our captain really loves trees here and really wants us to go ahead and turn the APU off and save a lot of money. So the way this after start flow would work would be like this. We would turn the APU off, and T-ice is as required still. Center pumps are still as required. But now, when it comes to our pneumatic panel, the APU bleed would come off, the engine bleed would come on, and well, at this point we would have our packs would have been turned off, so we just turn it back on. Recall checked, auto brakes down to RTO, and then we would set our flaps to 5 or whatever our takeoff flaps are, and then we run through the after start checklist, which goes like this. Engine anti-ice is as required, Air conditioning panel is set. Recall is checked. Auto brakes RTO. After start check is complete. Now, when this aircraft is fairly light, it can taxi pretty good on one engine at idle, with occasional power bumps here and there. But the only drawback to that is when we take a look at the bleed air and our duct pressure, compare it to the APU running packs. That single engine running the packs doesn't give out quite the output that we would like in the back. So that's really the only drawback. It is sufficient enough to move the aircraft and taxi. However, it's insufficient enough to start the engine. So we'll have to bump the power up a little bit. Now, in order to have enough duct pressure, we'll need to increase the N2 all the way up to 70%. It's really not that much at all, especially in the real world when the N2 idles at 65. Now, I have tried this before at Fly Factor. Unfortunately, after 18% or so, when starting the second engine, the power decreases. So we'll bump the N2 to 80% in order to get the second engine to start here. So we'll go ahead and bump the N2 up. And since we're not running the APU, we don't have to worry about the blowback here. So all we're going to do is just turn our packs off, and then we'll just run through the engine starting process all over again. Alright, once the power's clicked over, we can go ahead and bump that power back down to idle. Alright, once the NGT has stabilized again, we'll go ahead and reset our clock and run through our after start flow once again. APU is as required. Engine anti-ice is anti-ice rather is as required. Center pump tanks as required. And pneumatic panel. Now that we're going to start the use the right engine bleed, we'll turn the isolation valve off first. Engine bleed on. Packs auto. Recall checked. Auto brakes RTO. And flaps to take off, and for some reason you've got to somehow turn that switch off at some point. And flaps to 5, delayed after start checklist. Delayed after start checklist, engine anti-ice is off. Air conditioning panel is set, recall is checked, auto brakes RTO, delayed after start checklist complete. Alright guys, let's say we've just landed. Now once the reversers are stowed, that's usually my cue to go ahead and start our timer here for the 3-minute engine cooldown and run through the after landing flow. Now that starts down here at the ILS frequency. We'll zero that out. Move our transponder from TARA to Alton or transponder, whichever version of transponder you've got on. Captain is going to retract the spoilers. I'll bring the flaps up. Select the trim to 4 units up. Reset the auto brakes off, and at some point turn the flight directors off. And then we'll run through the after landing checklist. The after landing checklist is ensure that the anti-ice is off, flap levers up, speed brakes down, and the radar is off. After landing checklist is complete. Now, at some point, the captain is going to ask me to shut down an engine, and typically it's going to be the engine that will be on the inside of our last turn towards the gate. So let's say we're turning left into the gate, so we turn the left engine off. If it was the right turn towards the gate, then we turn the right engine off. So let's say that I was asked to turn the left engine off. So prior to doing that, we're going to come back up here. We're going to turn the left engine bleed air off. And turn the isolation valve on. Once the bleed air off light illuminates, we can go ahead and turn the that engine off. Now at some point once we get towards closer towards the gate, I'll go ahead and start the APU. And once the APU is up and running, we'll turn the right engine bleed off, turn our APU on. That way we've got really good pressure coming through our vents there, and we can actually lock that to the gate. And once we've parked, we'll shut the engine off. Turn the pumps off. And when we eventually do get power, we can obviously we connect the ground power, and then we'll turn our APU bleed, turn the packs off, turn the APU bleed air off, and our APU off. And that's all she wrote. Alright guys, once again, I know this was a short one, but I hope you guys learned a lot from this short video about how to operate the pneumatic panel. Once again, if there's any questions you have about this procedure, or any other questions about the aircraft, please don't hesitate to leave a comment or let me know personally. Thanks again guys, and I'll see you on the next one.